All right, guys, today we're going to talk about the frame. I just finished my workout. I released a video earlier in the week about intensity and how it relates to recovery, specifically to arm wrestling. I mentioned the word frame or frame pulling or using your frame a lot, and people were confused about what the frame was or and how it related to arm wrestling. What is the frame? Often you'll hear people like Devin Lorant talking about their frame, testing your frame. What is that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So your frame, or pulling with your frame, or using your frame, refers to the end range of motion of a joint. Okay, so what does that mean? One of the easier ways to talk about what the frame is with the shoulder. Now, we all know that you can break your arm wrestling. You know, some people say look at your hand. I say keep your hand on this side of your shoulder. As long as your hand is on this side of your shoulder, you're safe, because there's muscle to open up. If somebody comes in aggressively, there's muscle to absorb that. Now, if your hand isn't on this side of your shoulder, it's over here. There's no muscle left to absorb an impact. Okay, what I mean by muscle is you use your muscle to move your hand this way, right? Internal rotation. Muscle moves it this way, muscle moves it this way. Internal, external. Muscle's moving it. The end range of motion of your joint is this. There's no muscle stopping my arm from moving this way. It's my frame. So I've reached the end range of motion for my shoulder. That's it. It's not going anymore. That's the end range of motion. I'm now bouncing off of my frame at this point. When you work out in the gym and you lift heavy weight, okay, and you're lifting it because you've maxed out the end range of motion in your joints, you're not getting stronger when you do that. You get stronger when your hand is on this side of your shoulder. There's still plenty of range of motion here, and you're moving the weight with just your muscle. When you fully maxed out your end range of motion and you're doing this, you're moving the weight with your frame. Yes, you're using muscle, your core muscles to move your body this way and take it off the floor. Yes, of course there's muscle involved, breaking the weight off the ground. This is 80 pounds right now. This is my working weight. I'm not going to be doing any demonstrations with this amount of weight, but anyway, like I was saying, yes, even when your frame's completely maxed out, you're still using your body, muscle in your body, to break the weight off the floor. However, you're not moving it with your muscle in your arm, in your shoulder, and that's what we need to get stronger. We need the muscle in your arm and your shoulder to get stronger. You're not going to get stronger pulling with your frame. You're going to get injured. It's going to take a very long time for your shoulder and your arm to recover from that. And overall, it's putting you behind. So I'm going to lower the weight on here just so I can move it a bit to give better examples. Okay, so now we have 60 pounds on here. It's a lot more manageable than 80. And you can see here, I can move the weight with my muscle. I'm not moving it like this. I've lined up here. I've loaded up into position. There's still plenty of range of motion here. So when I'm here, when I'm moving the weight from here, you're moving it with your muscle. So now your muscle is getting stronger while you're training. You should be doing the same thing in practice, table time. When you use your muscle in table time, your muscle is what's going to get sore. Your muscle is what's going to get trained, and your muscle is going to recover much faster than your bone and your tendon, which is what you're using primarily when you're arm wrestling with your frame. So in short, moving weight with your frame, arm wrestling with your frame, is using the end range of motion of a joint to get leverage. So you're either doing that defensively, like this. You see some guys like this. Defensively, you can be doing it offensively, like this. You see some guys at the end range of motion like this. They're using the end range of motion of their joint as leverage to either pin somebody or to defend from being pinned. Another way people use their end range of motion or their frame is in an open top roll or defensive open top roll, maybe even defensive king's move. And the way that works is if you've completely lost your pronation, right? Your palm up, you're over here and someone's on top of you like this, right? If you drop down and roll your shoulder like this, okay? You're still losing, you've still lost all your pronation, but because you've dropped your angle, look, now our thumb's straight up, right? You can attack somebody's wrist by maxing out the end range of motion. So somebody's taking your pronation all the way over, your palm up, fully supinated, and now you're dropping down and rolling your shoulder over like this. It's gonna do this to their hand. You're not using your pronation muscle anymore to attack their hand. You've maxed out the end range of motion on your wrist, and now you're dropping down like this to pin. And so they're not only maxing out the end range of motion, their rotation here, they're also coming down and maxing out the end range of motion of their shoulder and just rolling over like this. And you see people pin like that a lot. And you know, it's some people call it like pure side pressure, or what they're really doing is they're maxing out the end range of motion of their supination or pronation here, and they're maxing out the end range of motion of their shoulder. And these athletes have conditioned their frame to be able to handle that. And they didn't do it by maxing themselves out like that all the time. They did it by training in appropriate intensity and while using their muscle to move weight and not just their frame. All right, guys, if you have any questions, leave them down below. Coaching, programs, check my website. See you guys later.